Welcome to session with Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei. As usual, I want to say hi to all those who are listening to me on ZFM 101.9, which comes on at 8:30 a.m. every Saturday. And if you miss it, please, on YouTube, look for Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei's site and enjoy. We continue our series on institutional or organizational leadership. The last episode I talked about strategic management. I want today to focus on a twin or related function of organizational leadership, that is managing change. It's interesting to visit almost every organization, whether it's manufacturing, service, education, and what have you, even churches. And behind the CEO's desk, you see a nice document, strategic management, or our strategic document. And often it will be there, sometimes 5 years, even not opened. It's just for the shelf. The worst part is that most of them will have been prepared by consultants without even the leader being actively engaged, nor the key agents, managers of the institution. That is just wasting forest. That's paper. When you have a strategic management not involving the leader and the staff, key staff, and put it on the shelf, it is nothing. At best, it's a dream. What makes it live and what allows things to happen is its implementation. And that requires what I'm talking about, change management. Because in a strategic management document or strategy document, where's it sought? It will say we are here. We have looked at our environment, scanned it, looking at the SWOT analysis. In terms of their strengths, the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and environment, and come up with the direction they want to go and where they want to reach in 10, 15, 25, or at least 5 years. Anything below 5 years is not worth calling it a strategy document. However, for you to give it life and for it to impact the organization, you have to be able to manage it from where you are, the status quo, for lack of good word, to where you want to be. And that is what change management is all about. Because in doing so, you will be ruffling people's comfort zone. You will find that some people even may become redundant. And as Collins and Co. would say, from good to great, you may have to even step some people off the bus. In other words, some workers cannot travel the whole journey with you and have to bring some people on board. These are difficult decisions. Again, no matter how much you plan, things, if they were going on straight line, then all you need is a machine to guide you. Therefore, there will be unexpected challenges. Those who have lived in Ghana the last 10 years, the change from Mahama to Akufo-Addo was like a sea change. Then comes COVID. Then before you wake up, there was DDEP. Every ladies and men get haircut. And then there's Mahama Abebio. Different changes. Those who were relying on treasury bills as their source of creating wealth now find that it's about 4 to 9%. So what do? Change is the only predictable part of living. The only thing that does not change is change. And if you cannot manage change, you are destined to fail. And as a leader, you don't fail alone. You fail with a team and those who depend upon you. So, what are some of the elements in change management? I must say that it is important for me to say that I'm not the first to be involved in change management. And there are gurus who have written about it, especially one of my best authors is J.P. Cotter of Harvard University. And I want to share some of the insights I've gleaned over the years when it comes to change management. The first in any successful change management is to convince your followers of the need and urgency for the change. Creating urgency or a case for the change. Professor Cotter says that people won't move unless they see why now. And that's natural. We have invested our lives in the status quo. People are holding their position called managers in the current system. And then you say you want us to disturb our comfort zone. Leaders must therefore make the clear case and even what it would take, because people get a bit jittery when you ask them to come up higher. Again, scarcely will you start a new paradigm or a change and get everybody in your organization on board. That will be like heaven. No, it is natural for people to resist. So you have to explain, communicate, educate them, convince them of the reason. And sad to say, at the end of the day, there are some people you must let go of the bus, especially when people decide that they will oppose it irrespective and get new change agents. And that brings to a very second important one, which I love Professor Cotter for. He says, a guiding coalition. No leader can do a change process and implement an earth-shaking strategy alone. It is said that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you need a team. You need a small group, but effective and powerful, credible people who will become your passionate supporters with whom you effect the change. Without building a guiding coalition, you are likely to fail, not able to deal with saboteurs and the type of turbulence that come with the change. The third is that of communication. And here we are not talking about being a good speaker. You are talking about what Barnes calls communicating meaning, touching the heart of people, assuaging their fears, giving them the raison d'etre, the reason for the change. And that, unfortunately, you can't do it once. It must be continuously done. I remember leading change in Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. My guiding coalition of supervisors and heads of department, I met with them for 1 hour every day for 160 days. That because there will be rumors, they must be corrected, you have to explain things to them. You don't need to do that often, but it's important to have continuous communication. Then every week, and then later on it becomes once a month, there was a deba of all staff so that people can ask questions and have their fears brought to the fore, especially when we separated a certain amount or a certain portion of the staff. And that became as if, hey, our job is going to go away. No, they should know that that was a once and for all reshaping, and that all the rest will be secure in terms of their job. Communication. And part of the communication is what the Americans call transvisioning. You must so much break the vision that they will be able to own it. When I got people to understand that we are going for excellent educational institution, very soon, one day, one of the laborers were doing something and I didn't understand. I was passing by and I wanted to ask, Madam, he was a lady, he was the only lady among our laborers. Says, what are you doing? He just got up, looked at my face and said, excellence. I must say that with shame, I went to my office. Fortunately, what he was doing was just below my office, so I could see her. Because they were putting some black and white stones in the middle of the road. Apparently, it's an intersection, and there's a tendency of other cars, possibly colliding. So if they put stones in the middle, at least they will go around it and they won't collide. I just laughed from my office window. Eventually, they found that it didn't work and they removed it. But at least I was so happy that the staff, who's the laborer, the lowest in a university, could rise and look into my face and say that they are pursuing excellence. Then I knew that we would succeed. Communicate. Then, no matter what you do, there will be challenges, there will be barriers, and it is the responsibility of the leader to identify the barriers, to remove them, and create an enabling environment for others to be able to continue their work. I always use a biblical example. When the sons of the prophets, those of you who read the Bible, it's about Elisha. He went with the sons of the prophets to go and cut wood to build a house for themselves. And of course, the old prophet was sitting under a tree relaxing. The young men were cutting the wood. Pa, 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 pa. Then they came. Sir, we have a problem. He said, what's the matter? He said, the axe head has fallen into the lake. And they added, and it was borrowed. In other words, they didn't have money for the axe head. They went and borrowed it, and now the axe, they will come to you. Listen, if you are leading change, especially when things are going well, don't be fooled. Don't think that, therefore you can relax. No. When the problems come, the buck will stop with you. Another point that Kota mentions is generating quick wins. You can talk about 10 years, 15 years, 25 years. The other person is thinking about this month, next month, at most a year. Therefore, it is important to generate quick, visible signs of progress, not achieving your aim. I remember one of the things that we did at Gimpa was, Gimpa is in a place we call Green Hill. And almost during the dry season, everywhere is brown. We decided just to water the entrance of Gimpa so that it is green. Couldn't believe how many people took notice that Gimpa has changed. Just getting a laborer to water the grass so that it looks green. But that's a quick win. You must do so. So tokens of success is very important, especially for the rank and file. Levine, one of the change management gurus is that first, you must shake the status quo, that's unfreeze. Then you change. But when you are doing so, you must be giving evidence to prove that the way you are treading and asking them to follow works. The only thing I don't agree with Levin, he says that after that, you freeze it. In other words, you go to another level of status quo. I don't think that in change management, you must stop. You must go the Japanese way, Kaizen. After the initial big change, you must enter into a period of continuous improvement. So that's where I must say I would disagree with one of my masters. However, especially in Ghana, if you start change management, you say, when it boils, it will cool. Some people therefore sit on the fence. I'm actually waiting for you to fail. And then we say, I told you so. I knew that this was JJC, Johnny Just Come. No. As soon as you effect the change, you must try to change the culture of the organization to support it. And by culture, I'm talking about the incentive systems, the reward system, whom you recognize must be in line with your new paradigm so that people will know. And let me tell you, in cultural change, the behavior of the leader is about 50% of what accounts for people accepting a new culture. You must live the culture. If you say it's work ethic, punctuality, delivering on time, the leader cannot come lackadaisically, show up at 9 and expect people. No. I remember when I was UN ambassador, rest rep in South Africa, Namibia specific. One day I saw my assistant resident representative, Lovika, just running. And I said, what is wrong with you? Oh, I'm sorry that I'm late. And I said, please, you are a mother of 3. You are one of my best workers. If for some reason you are coming late because I've seen you at the steps, please. So I have to, rather the opposite, cool her down that, she's normal. All of us, one day or the other, we are late in showing up. But why? Because he has seen the boss on time all the time. And therefore, my seeing her, he thought that I was going to be vexed, while rather I knew her as a super worker and I had to encourage her. So you must change, embody the culture, and anchor the culture. Change sticks. When new behaviors become how we do things here, because the status quo was how we were doing things, you must have a new way. And leaders must reinforce that through their hiring, their promotion, their stories, whom they recognize as those who are supportive of the new culture. Therefore, change management is not a child's play. It is the reason why most strategic management documents lie on the shelves. And the leader must show. In all these things, that's my last point, has to do with managing change. Managing resistance. You have to make sure that your change management is not derailed by opposition, passive or active. You must, as much as possible, explain, retrain people, give them positions, those you are keeping, which can allow them to excel. Do everything to get people on board the new culture. But at the end of the day, in few cases, you do this to reduce the core. You have to act surgically. In other words, even separating them, which is not easy in the public sector, but even there it is doable provided you have the basis for it. I think that if you have your strategy in place and you commit to change management, you are likely to be very effective and your organization will be the better for it. Shalom and the Lord be with you. We will end the organizational one here. I wanted to do a separate one on culture, but our time will not allow us. But you can always remember that cultural change is not only the most difficult, but ultimately is the way you anchor all your change. Shalom and may the Lord be with you. This is your brother, Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei. You can always meet me and listen to me at 8:30 a.m. every Saturday on ZFM 101.9. And if you miss it or you want to listen to me again, always go to Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei YouTube and I will meet you there. Shalom and may the Lord be with you.